Welcome back to the GSL Code A. We had a pretty awesome early group, afternoon group, and now we're going into the evening group, which is arguably even more awesome.
Yeah, we have now two Terran players. We have a Zerg and a Protoss player, and it's going to be a really epic group since we have, amongst others, also Flash and Lenok in the group. So this is going to be really exciting. So far, GSL Code A was pretty impressive. We had three really interesting groups with great results, great games, but now this group is going to be the highlight up to now, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Flash is playing, so that's always got its hype, but there's also Lenok. And then beyond him, there's YongHwa, a player who's really, really solid, and Bravo, who's kind of the dark horse, I feel, of the group. So a pretty awesome group coming at us. And like you said, two Terrans. I think it's the first time we've had two Terrans in a group. We had three Zergs in a group, and then two groups with two Protosses, maybe even three groups that had two Protosses each. And then we had, of course, now this one has two Terrans. So Terrans representing, see if they can get through. And it's going to be a fun day of matches for sure. A fun night, I should say.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what you said about Bravo. He's a little bit dark horse of the group, and I personally think that two players who have the best chance to get out of the group are Lenok and Flash, but at the same time, YongHwa is a strong player, and I feel with him it always depends a little bit on what kind of shape he's in. If he has a really good day, he can beat anyone in the world, and sometimes he just falls off a little bit. Really solid player, on the other hand. I personally just have a feeling it's going to be Flash and Lenok, but YongHwa could definitely beat either one of them, so it's going to be a very, very intense group at that. And the games, how it fends off, we're starting things off with the Terran versus Protoss, since Flash is going to meet YongHwa in game number 1, and then Lenok going up against Bravo. So Lenok had to prepare a lot for Terrans, same as of course for YongHwa, since we have two Terran players in the group. Makes it maybe a little bit easier for them to prepare here.
The funny thing about the Terrans is they have to prepare for all matchups. So they have to prepare for Terran versus Zerg and Terran versus Protoss, as well as the TVT matchup. And of course, I think they're going to focus more so on their very first matchup, in the case of Flash, TVP, and then for Bravo, TVZ, just to get things going, to try to get that momentum in the first game. I feel like a lot of people are concerned that Flash might drop to Code B. I think he's, like you said, one of the two favorites in the group, but if he drops out, then that could be the end of him for the for quite some time in individual leagues.
We're having a quick look at the match results, though. We had our early group today, Group D, where Symbol together with Myungsik were able to advance. And especially the series between Myungsik and Symbol in the winners match, that was quite interesting. We had on Daedalus as well as on the map before quite the showdown between the two players. Here in the end, Symbol advances to Code S as the first player in the group, and then on the last match of the day, a Protoss versus Protoss, so Myungsik advance over Trust. There we have now Flash versus YongHwa, Lenok versus Bravo, our 4 players today. This is going to be a really good group.
We have 3 players on solid Kespa teams, 2 players on the biggest Kespa teams, KT Rolster and SK Telecom, and Lenok, who's currently teamless. For him, this match is really important career-wise, because going to foreign events is something that he's going to want, of course, to be doing in the future, and he wants to prove himself here and get into this league where maybe he can get some of that top-heavy prize money that everyone's talking about for Korea. I mean, it's really, the prize money is all at the top of Code S, so you got to get to Code S first and start getting some of the money. Lenok's won a lot of it already, though, so for him, I guess he's got a pretty stable past to see if he can go into his future.
Yeah, YongHwa here rocking the gray. We have Flash to the left. Daedalus Point is going to be the first map between the two of them. This is losers pick format, so whoever loses one match can pick the next map. This led us into a lot of games in Zerg versus Protoss on Daedalus Point, where the Zerg player has chosen the last map. Keep in mind that we changed the Code A format a little bit. We now have a group format, which means that the players are going to play their games on one single day in comparison to what we had in the last few seasons, where the bracket system was spread out over several weeks. So you can follow your favorite player on a single day and just watch his progress through the group. It's the same group system that we use for Code S, so we are going to have a winners and a losers game later on, and then the constellation match between the two of them.
Indeed we will. Daedalus Point being the first map, a very wide open natural. Not going to matter against Walling, against Zerglings in this matchup, but for YongHwa, he has to keep in mind that force fields aren't going to be as good against defending against Flash's pressure, so he will have to use that Mothership Overcharge. Let's find out who's going to get the momentum first. Flash versus YongHwa, Terran versus Protoss, the GSL Code A, Outer and Wolf.
Flash versus YongHwa.
Daedalus Point is our first map today in the best of 3 series in this Terran versus Protoss. And the Terran player for KT also starts at the bottom right of the map. It is Flash. And he's going up against his Protoss opponent. To the top left in red for IM, we have YongHwa.
There's YongHwa. Shot of him there. And I think everyone would agree that Flash is probably fan favorite here.
The funny thing is actually that when you look at the statistics, you would give the edge to YongHwa because he has played 22 maps in Heart of the Swarm offline against Terran, and he won 15 of them. That leaves him with a 68% win ratio. Then you go down his match history, and he actually had in the Code A qualifier to play TY twice and beat him without dropping a single map.
Yeah,
he beat him with a 4-0. He was successful against Keen in Pro League. The only loss in the last few weeks and months was against Bomber with a 1-2 in Code S. Besides that, he took down every single Talon player that he'd faced. Flash, on the other hand, is of course also one of the players with a positive win ratio, 58% with 27 losses and 27 wins and 19 losses. Losing against Parting, losing against Sora in Pro League, a couple of losses against Parting in Code S as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Flash is going to fare in this first series. And you said it best earlier, Flash is a really fan-favorite player in this group, but a lot of people are afraid that on a bad day he might just fall back into Good B.
Yeah, I mean, he is seeded, of course, from Code S. That's why he's in Code A in the first place. We saw it earlier. You know, you mentioned YongHwa beating TY twice, 4-0. That was the stat that we had with the Korean names up there. The map that he dropped in the middle was actually to his former teammate, Seed. So that was just to give you guys a little bit more extra info there about the preliminaries for these two players. And here comes Flash's first scout. Gonna pop in here, see what he can see. Sees the double gas, of course, and wants to identify the third pylon location and make sure there's no weird shenanigans going on. Of course, he doesn't want to get proxied.
Yeah, we had a lot of that. Most of the players were able to scout the proxies early on in the game. We had a lot of scouting, especially since... And there we go again. Oh, sorry. Actually, my bad. Never mind. One of the things that is really key to most of the new maps is that we have a massive main base where you can easily just hide a couple of proxy buildings, and we've seen this several times right now. So players usually making the extra effort of sending SCVs or probes or drones across the map, just trying to find out what exactly is happening here, just to have this early edge. And so far we've seen, I think, as many proxy plays as we've never seen before in Code A in the past few seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really reminiscent of like the old very first few seasons of Code A back in like 2010, 2011. Just crazy cheese builds, all sorts of aggression. And this is, back then it was so easy to go from Code A to Code S, and we're kind of back in that similar type of mode where it's really easy to go back up there. So we'll see how Flash wants to play this one. He's going to do what he has shown in Pro League in this matchup, the double Reaper build. Really aggressive for scouting, and also can give you a few probe kills depending on how lucky you get and if you can catch your opponent off guard. Or it also really keeps him back at home, so he doesn't get the ability to pressure you with his mothership core as much as he would like if he wants to defend this without taking any losses.
Reapers coming into the main base here from a pretty nice angle. The first one taking a couple shots. Nice around there. Whoa, YongHwa.
Wow.
Look at that, the reflexes. He's pulling the probes in right away, surrounds that Reaper, and he has no chance to kill anything at all. Job well done by YongHwa, who drops the Twilight Council as soon as Flash leaves his main base.
And that's why there's two Reapers, though. He's going to send the second one in there to verify what's going on.
Well, if he can, because there's a double stock already, and the probe... No, doesn't get it. There comes the shot, and that Twilight Council is not going to get scouted anytime soon.
Definitely not. Notice he has a tight wall here, by the way, so the Reapers can't go around the top right there. Something we've seen on this map quite a few times. I really like that little touch.
Yeah, now we are in one of those maps. I mean, what's the key point about Daedalus? The point is that you at the front don't have really the small ramp that you can easily just wall off with a couple of buildings and then defend. So there's a huge surface area that you have somehow to cover. And on this map in particular, now we're going to see a Dark Shrine build from YongHwa, who just used that ES, and he didn't see the Dark Shrine because the Dark Shrine was built at the natural. He only saw the Twilight Council, so he might assume that he's up against the Blink build instead, even though he didn't see an upgrade there.
That's really a good point, and it's hard for him to assume 100% that it's Blink, but like that's the most likely option. That's the one we see the most in this matchup. YongHwa trying to get anything done he can with these Stalkers against the Marine forces coming towards his base here. Turret goes up instantly for Flash. He's not playing this too greedy.
Exactly. He's playing it safe. He prepares for all the eventualities. Is nearly able to take down one or two of the Stalkers. And the one thing that really shows here is that Flash is not afraid of dropping a scan. That is, of course, one mule that he doesn't have. But he wants to see what's going on. He wants to get a good idea. He doesn't want to get blindsided here.
Yep. There's the overcharge. Hits the Marauder, actually, which saves his Marines. That's pretty useful for him.
Yeah, he still didn't see the Dark Shrine, but with that one missile turret, he should be fairly safe.
Should actually be able to kill these Marines with good micro, and there's no way they're going to be able to escape. Nice micro here by YongHwa. Just very careful with his Stalkers. Very diligent. The Dark Shrine is going to be great paired up with this Warp Prism that's being made right now. Blink is coming in as a follow-up as well, so if he does a little bit of damage to Flash's economy and messes with him here, then follows up with DTs, follows up with Blink, that could be devastating. There's No real way to wall, as you mentioned, at the front. And
the DTs, the first one is going to die immediately. Well, he's trying to sneak in, but already spotted and by... Oh, actually...
No, concussive shell. He has a wall here, though, at least.
He has a wall, and the DT is once again visible thanks to the scan, so he takes it out. But he has to drop that extra scanner. That is, of course, something noteworthy. Yeah? At least he was able to bait that out.
YongHwa is not really known for aggressive all-ins or timings, and it looks like with the double forge that's going down here, he's just going to transition to a normal game rather than trying to do that blink follow-up. He's going to go in here to the Warp Prism. There's already a turret in the main base, though. Flash, knowing this is a likely follow-up, especially since he hasn't seen anything else directly attacking him early on. But he doesn't have any units in his main base right now, so this could still actually do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, the T already moving in, and he could snipe a couple of the Harvesters here without any problem at all. 2 kills so far, and the SCVs are heading over there immediately. There's another snipe on the SCV, 4 kills in total now, and finally a bit of a task force moving in. Another scan goes down, but not before another Marine was taken apart.
Yep. Always a one-shot for a Marine until combat shields are ready, so that's really annoying for Flash.
Yeah, and those are only halfway done.
Yep. And this has been a pretty decent investment for YongHwa. It hasn't been, like, game-changing, but he's gotten a return on it, so it evens out what he's spent. And Flash has to keep using those scans, which costs him money. There's going to be a little bit of a delay on this barracks, and also is going to be able to continue to do damage here.
The 2 medivacs actually boost in, and immediately YongHwa assumes that there are units in there trying to take him out. But that was really well done by the Tamaran player. At the same time, the DT is still active on the map. Problematic for Flash is that he doesn't have the energy for another scan anymore.
Yep. And that one shot on the Marines is annoying. And he doesn't actually make a turret here. He felt like with the wall there, he'd be totally safe. He's not. And he's really starting to take a lot of losses to YongHwa's DTs here.
Yeah, the DT is really doing a good job. And another SCV immediately being taken out. 9 Harvester kills so far. 2 scans baited. Another stim being used. Here comes the 3rd scan. And he kills 2 additional SCVs. That's 11 SCV kills already. 3 scans in total. And also a cancel on one of the structures. So job well done by YongHwa.
Absolutely. Definitely making it a great trade for him there at the end. His Warp Prism may actually get caught by his stim group of Marines on the other hand. I think he's not paying attention. Definitely going to lose that. Flash waits till the last second to actually alert YongHwa via the mini-map.
Really well done there. Goes with the Marines underneath the Warp Prism. He sees that YongHwa for some reason doesn't currently pay attention to that part of the map and abuses that quite a bit. Walks underneath the Warp Prism before he starts attacking so that he can kill it for sure. The problem for Flash really being that this drop that he has currently set into motion is not going to do too much because there is already a trap. With the blink upgrade that is done for YongHwa, he can wait until the medivacs are on or above ground and then just blink in and snipe both of them.
Yep, and he's also got the Observer there. Something Flash looks like he may have noticed. He's going to try to draw the units maybe to the natural because he has a second group of units coming over here towards the ground. And he actually might fly in. Yep, loads both of them up in the medevac. And with an overcharge on the mothership core, that's going to buy him some time. He's really going to have to focus on the main.
Here we go. This is so dangerous. Here comes a blink, and the snipe, and YongHwa is a little bit too eager to make this happen. He should have waited another second. Then he could have sniped 1, maybe even 2 medivacs. So, a little bit too eager to make that work, and backfired.
But even still, for Flash, this is not a good place to be. He's down in upgrades, especially because we're going to see the Chrono Boost on these 2 upgrades for YongHwa. He's going to get even further behind. He didn't get any damage done with his harassment, whereas he was harassed quite heavily. He lost 11 SCVs in total, 9 Marines as well.
Yeah, and there's also a 3rd base now started for YongHwa. Flash doesn't have that yet, and that is definitely becoming an issue here. The upgrades are looking pretty good for the Protoss player. His blink is already completed. We do not see charge just yet. It's about to be done, but not quite. 2-2 is halfway completed, and it's just looking pretty solid here for YongHwa. He's taking a lead in supply, he's taking another Marine apart, and so far the Protoss player really having a great game here.
He's going to force another scan here, actually, it looks like. The thing is, if you don't scan that, then you risk the threat of it being useful against you later. And if you do scan it, then you're like, well, I lost a Marine and about 270 minerals worth of faster mining from a mule. So 5 gates going up here for YongHwa. He's going to have more than enough, especially with 2-2 finishing here, to be able to lock this down. I believe he has charge complete now as well.
Yeah, charge is done.
Yeah, this is going to be... I mean, Flash cannot attack this 3rd base directly. He needs to find another way.
And Flash does not have a 3rd on his own, and he doesn't start one. He is still on 2 bases, and, well, he's going to fall behind in income very soon. He actually does already.
No scans on those orbitals, as Heaven just showed us, meaning that this DT actually survives. It looks like Flash saw it, and now he's trying to find it because he doesn't want this base to be denied. This is a really nice map awareness by Flash. He's able to find it without even being able to see on the minimap or anything, and it's just waiting to scan.
One Marine goes down, 2 hits thanks to the combat shield this time. And we still have the better work account for YongHwa. The 3rd base is done. He has the saturation at the 3 mineral mines. And is also at 2,000 income per minute already, in minerals that is. Yep. Gas still not taken there, but he's going into 3-3 right now, and things are looking pretty good for YongHwa.
Yeah, as soon as he gets those gases up, he can start his transition into High Templar. And, I mean, like you said, the upgrades are good for him. Flash is not really missing a beat. I mean, his 2-2 is going to, if he starts 3-3 right away, he's going to be able to catch up. But that's a lot of resource, and if he does that, then he's going to have less units because that's really expensive. Nice pick off here. His Stalker control, YongHwa, is really, really nice today. Gets a medevac, or rather a Viking there. And here comes the SCV pull. We're just going to see a 2-2 push. He has 2 ghosts with this.
There are 5 Colossi on the other hand. 5 Colossi, and they are doing the damage already. The Charge Lords bursting to the front immediately, pushing the Terran player back. The stutter step is nice for Flash, but is it enough? There comes the double time warp. Not doing too much, not trapping too many units, but Flash is being taken apart here. He doesn't stand a chance against this onslaught.
GG. That was... The army supply in Zealots alone was like bigger than Flash's army supply. You couple that with the 5 Colossi that you mentioned, the lack of Vikings, and those SCVs aren't really helping out. Flash, he went for a desperate attempt there because he knew that taking a 4th base if spotted was going to be futile, and going for a regular attack wasn't going to work, so he pulled his SCVs. Can't blame him for that. He just took way too much damage to the DTs. He had to scan way too often. That's a ton of damage if you count all the scans.
He had a pretty bad game in general. The double Reaper opening didn't accomplish anything at all. He didn't kill a single Harvester here. We saw YongHwa with an immediate surround on one of the Reapers. The second one didn't get into the base. He had to use a scan to confirm that there is some tech started. Then he started things off with the missile turrets. It looked like he's going to be fine against the DTs, but the Warp Prison really changing things quite a bit, forcing additional scans out there. And we also saw the DTs doing quite a significant amount of damage to the economy, killing 11 SCVs in total. And YongHwa just not missing a beat. The upgrades, always the chrono boosts, getting ahead, getting the 2-2, going straight into 3-3, having a nice composition there. Flash didn't have a 3rd base. It was 3 bases against 2, so he was kind of forced to attack, but he probably knew at that point already that it was kind of a desperate move.
Yeah, definitely so. And YongHwa got to be feeling confident now, taking a game off of Flash like that with just constant harassment and also just keeping his own bases up, keeping Flash occupied somewhere else while he was building up his tech. And he never even really needed Storm that game against Flash. So Heavy Rain is the map that Flash picks, an interesting choice. I guess he's prepared a specific build for this map. And he needs to turn this around by just having either a more solid defense or being more aggressive, because YongHwa, if he lets YongHwa get away with that much harassment again, he's going to have the same problem in our second game.
We're jumping into game number 2 now. Heavy Rain, Flash versus YongHwa here at the GSL Code A with Carl and Wolf.